Policing Community Forum, or the Community Policing Forum in Daveyton, in Ekurhuleni, is appealing to the public to come forward with any information that could lead to the arrest of the attackers who killed 6 people at a tavern there. Community members are still shocked and say they fear for their safety. Ziniko Mhlaba was in the area earlier and is with me in studio to give us more on this story. Ziniko, a very good evening to you. Good to see you. What happened?
So we were in Davidson this morning following up on the report that came out from the past weekend. So apparently patrons were enjoying themselves at a tavern in Davidson on Saturday evening. So as they were enjoying themselves, unidentified gunmen ambushed them, spreading fire, and actually ended up killing about 6 people. The 7th person survived and was rushed to hospital. So as we got there in the morning, we were told that there were actually 2 incidents in the same street. There were 2 taverns. So these gunmen started in one tavern, which was 2 houses away from the actual major scene. And so those gunmen just opened fire on these patrons without any reason or knew why they shot those people. So even now, committee members are still shocked. They're still fearing for themselves, and even police have no leads as to who they must chase after.
And any suspicion, I mean, we don't know, there wasn't a motive at least expressed by the attackers, but any indication as to who the attackers might be, where they might have come from?
So the offline conversations we had with some of the committee members actually who were close with some of the victims were saying that there's a Zama Tef feud that's taking place in that community. Actually, it's been taking place for years now, but these killings have actually been getting out of hand. Actually, on Friday, 4 people were killed about a kilometer away from the same from this actual scene where 6 people were killed. So that's what committee members are alleging or suspecting. But also in terms of the demographics there, you have you remember that Davidson is one of the oldest townships where you'll find a section dedicated to Basotho, to Amaxhosa, to hostels. So that tavern is in the proximity between Abasotho and AmaZulu, and actually informal settlements where these committee members are alleging that the Zamazamas actually reside in those informal settlements. So if you happen to be a spy or to be an informant, they identify you and then they attack you. So they suspect that some of the victims themselves might actually be linked in one or the other to some of those allegations, which Zamazamas believe that actually this person might be one of the informants to the police.
Given that context then, Ziniko, am I right to say it suggests that this sort of violence is not necessarily uncommon in this area?
It's very common. As I said, the committee member was saying actually a day before, 4 people had been killed in a nearby informal settlement. However, that story did not make the headlines because it was not popularly reported. So it's something that's frequent. Actually, one of the SANCO members we spoke to saying that these incidents are so frequent that on a daily basis, after 5 o'clock, people close themselves in the houses. No one steps out to work because they fear for their lives.
Let's listen for a moment to actually what we heard from the CPF while Ziniko was in that community earlier today, just speaking about the levels of violence. Have a listen.
You know, we get insulted by community members, you know, for working with the police. We are given names, you know, for working with the police. So right now, on itself, that one is a trauma. You can imagine right now being a volunteer, trying to bring order, you know, in your township and get insulted, you know, right now. That's why right now, in the end of the day, right now, you find some of the members of our structures, you know, they tend to leave, you know, they leave, stop working with us because of the threats and the insult that they're enjoying, you know, from other community members.
That's the policing forum there from the neighborhoods. Ziniko, how do these formations or the CPF itself, how does it even relate to the community? Is it doing a good enough job at helping to keep them safe?
So community members do not believe that CPF is doing enough. They are saying that they don't see them patrolling as frequent as they would like them to do. But CPF is saying that we do not have the capacity, we do not have the tools. And when we go to these operations, we are the ones who are not armed compared to SAPS members who are armed. So that's the conversation. But also, committee members such as SANCO, which is a civil movement, which is representing the views of the people, are saying that we do not have the capacity. We've been talking to SAPS, we've been talking to law enforcement to say, guys, we've got a challenge of these Zamazamas in our communities, but we are not getting any help. So let's take a listen to what the SANCO representative had to say.
It's very dangerous. Mangaqala nje kuba mnyama ngabo past 5 to 6 in winter sesiyaqala siyakhala isibhamu kushaya bo-8 nje akusahambeki. So this is a long way iqalile lento since last year kakhulu.
So the gentleman there expressing what you were telling us earlier, Ziniko, that once it's dark, especially in the winter months when it's darker much earlier, you begin to hear the gunshots ring out in the neighborhood. What is the solution? So
what these community structures have been doing is trying to engage with the local authorities, which is the regional structures of, say, SAPS. But now we are seeing that more provincial structures are getting into these communities, because you remember it's the same phenomenon where you see mass killings in Rivali or wherever. Then you'll see senior structures, senior leaders of provincial SAPS structures going into that community. So they are saying that we have not been seeing that. Nothing has been done in our community, because we've seen people in Electoral Park, in Deep Sloot, where SAPS members send in troops, send in vans, but that has not been happening in Davidson. So that sounds to be something that they are worried about. They're saying they feel actually as if they are on their own. No one is listening to them. Actually, no one is picking up their plight.
Ziniko, thank you very much for that update on a very frightening story.